Quantitative reasoning isn't just about formulas. It's about reading the question properly. I'm going to teach you the RTFQ method that helped me take my QR from 750s to a 900 on test day. My name's Farhan, I'm a junior doctor, and I've helped over 100 students get into medicine and dentistry across Australia. And today, you are going to learn how to stop wasting 20 plus seconds on dead end calculations in QR by separating comprehension from calculation and using the RTFQ method. And the way I'm going to illustrate this to you is through just some case studies that I've seen from my time as a tutor. So, first of all, I had a student that was struggling with her quantitative reasoning. She was trying new things, she was trying to apply what I was teaching her, but it just didn't seem to be catching on. And so what I suggested was, why don't you record yourself going through a full quantitative reasoning mini mock, and then we can kind of diagnose what might be going wrong. And so that's exactly what we did. And in my analysis, there was some common errors that pretty much happened to everyone, right? Calculation errors, maybe questionable choice of questions to attempt. Some of them I probably would have skipped myself. But there was one mistake that was coming up time after time, again and again. And this is what it was, right? So we come across a question just like this one. And she takes 10, 15 seconds to understand what the question is about. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's exactly what she should be doing. Now, in terms of the timestamp, it was 20:06 remaining when she first sees the question. Let's keep that in mind, right? She then opens up her calculator and then starts calculating something. Now, it was 19:44 remaining when she starts calculating an answer. Now, having a look at what she was actually putting into the calculator, I realized that it didn't quite make sense to me what kind of number she was putting in. She ended up getting the number 26 here. It's not one of the answer options. It's not even in any of the tables. So I was a bit confused as to what she was actually calculating. And I realized maybe she didn't have an idea of what she was trying to calculate either. Now, 19 minutes and 21 seconds remaining is when she starts calculating the correct answer. This is when I see her put in numbers that she actually needs to actually get the answer to this particular question. And then she ends up getting an answer of 97, picking C and moving on. So 19 minutes and 4 seconds remaining is when she got the correct answer and moved on. So here's all the timestamps for you to see again. And maybe in a more comprehensible manner, at 0 seconds, she saw the question. At 22 seconds, she started calculating something. At 45 seconds, she started calculating the correct answer. And at 62 seconds, she got it right. So if we have a look at the gaps in between those now, that's 22 seconds comprehending the question. That's 23 seconds calculating basically nothing. And then 17 seconds spent calculating the correct answer. This question should have taken this student 39 seconds. Instead, it took them 62. So if we have a look back at the process, where do we think she went wrong? Quite clearly, in the 23 seconds spent calculating nothing. And this mistake wasn't just made once or twice in this mini mock, it was made 8 times. 8 times 20 gives you 160 seconds. Guys, that's 2 minutes and 40 seconds of extra time that she could have got in this quantitative reasoning section. So if you're running out of time in QR, I can almost guarantee that you are making this mistake. This is where you are losing your time. And there's a couple reasons why this is so dangerous. Number one, obviously because it's a lost time. It's time that you could otherwise have spent doing the actual calculation that you needed to. And the hidden cost of this is that it feels busy, but it's not. So you're not acutely aware of this. You don't think that this is a really big mistake because in the moment you're calculating something. You're clicking away at the calculator, you're thinking through the numbers, you're thinking that you're making some sort of progress towards actually answering the question. But in reality, you're not really, in effect, going towards that answer. Maybe the only benefit of it is knowing that whatever path you're going down is not the right path. So even though it feels busy and productive in the moment, it actually does nothing to get you closer towards the right answer. Now, you might be sitting there on a bit of a high horse thinking, what an elementary mistake. This can't happen to me. I can guarantee you without a doubt that this is happening to you. You're just not aware of it yet because you feel busy in the moment. So why does something like this happen? Well, the simple answer is it's because of time pressure. when the time pressure is on us, when the clock is ticking down, we feel the compulsion to rush through the question because, we have to save seconds every single time we go into the question. And in doing so, what actually ends up happening is we rush the comprehension of the question. We miss key details that would otherwise have put us onto a different path when it comes to calculating the answer. And because we rush the comprehension and because we rush into the calculation, we end up in a situation where we calculate something, we realize it's completely the wrong thing, and then go back and reread the STEM, reread the question, and then begin our steps all over again. That is where we lose so much time. Now let's head on into a second case study. Now this person, they're actually doing pretty well in quantitative reasoning. It was one of their strengths, but they were still making a lot of silly mistakes. And, upon doing a lot of analysis on what kind of question types they would be, or they should be working on, or what kind of mistakes they were making, they realized that they were making one simple error, which was not reading the question properly. It wasn't until this person consciously slowed down, read the question properly, double-checked to see that what they were about to calculate is actually what the question wanted from them, and then started calculating that they saw improvements in their score. This person was me, and it's what helped me get my scores for QR from a 750 up to 900 on test day. And I specifically remember on test day, maybe 5 or 6 different moments where I caught myself, where had I not double checked what the question was asking of me, I would have gone down a completely wrong path. That would have wasted my time, and that would have meant that I might not have finished quantitative reasoning on time, nor got the score that I did. It was the process of consciously slowing down and double checking which actually made me more accurate and actually made me more time efficient at the end of the day. And it all comes down to the RTFQ method. That stands for read the question. I'll leave to your imagination what the rest of that stands for. So no matter where you are, you can absolutely improve this. For case study 1, she was doing average on QR. Neither her strength nor her weakness, but she was able to really improve at her QR once she diagnosed this mistake. For case study 2, QR was my strong point, but I still saw a plus 100 boost in my score once I started implementing slow and conscious question comprehension. Both cases here saw immense improvement. So what is the solution to this? The solution to this is to break down your QR questions into 2 steps. Number 1, comprehension, and number 2, calculation. Inside comprehension, you have understanding what the question wants from you, and then knowing what numbers to use. And then in calculation, it's knowing what formulas to use, and then just calculating that as quickly as you can. For a lot of us, our focus on QR tends to be on step number 2, because that's what people can usually teach, the formulas, the methods to calculate things faster. But a lot of people skip part 1, and you can't really ever get to calculation before getting good at comprehension. So my advice is this: when in the comprehension phase, take things slowly. It almost might feel like taking 1 step back, but the net effect of all of this is that you take 2 steps forward in the fact that you're more accurate and also more time efficient. And so if you want just a framework or a flow chart to put all of this into practice, this is what I've come up for when it comes to quantitative reasoning. Once you come across a new set of questions, then utilize your skipping strategies to ask yourself, do I want to do these questions? If no, flag and skip it immediately. If yes, then you go through this 3-step process, looking at the STEM, the question, and calculation. Inside the STEM, you go through asking, what is this table about? What is the table telling me? And are there any traps in the fine print? I go through all of that in another video called Identifying Key Variables. When it comes to the question, it's about knowing what to calculate. What does the question actually want me to solve for? This is RTFQ. This is what most people miss. And then from there, knowing what numbers to actually use. Where in the table can you find the relevant numbers? Then and only then do you move on to the calculation step, which is using the best formulas and then being quick and accurate with your calculator. So if you found this helpful, this is just one of the many frameworks that I have for the UCAT. If you want all of my frameworks in one place, then just click the first link in the description below. Otherwise, here are just some common traps that students fall into when it comes to question comprehension. Number one is starting to calculate as soon as you see the numbers. It's a trap because you feel like you're being really quick, but the net effect of it is you might end up wasting more time because you have to reread the question anyways. Two is rushing the STEM under time and pressure and then needing to reread it again. And three is actually just believing you're too good to make this mistake. Every single person makes this mistake. It just lies on a spectrum, whether or not you make it a lot or maybe just a couple times here and there. Either way, you can improve at it. So here's the do's and don'ts. Do take your time reading the STEM and the question. Do ask yourself, what exactly is the question asking me to find? And do restate the target in your own words before even opening the calculator. Don't start calculating to see what happens and experiment. Don't assume you've understood just because you've read it once quickly. And don't assume you don't make this mistake. As for your next steps, set up a mini mock or a set of timed questions and record yourself. Anything that can screen record will work well. So if you guys have a Zoom account, just set up a screen record on Zoom, or there's free software out there on the internet as well. Anything where you can look back at what you've just done for that mini mock. Then you go back through that recording and analyze. Look for moments where you start these dead end calculations, and you'll be surprised at just how many you see. Now, if you don't already have a question platform to do a mini mock on, then you can use the code Farhan for 10% off med entry.